Okay, so super quickly going to go back to where I should be and talk about what your assignment is. All right, the following is going to be both recorded as a video and presented to you right now. So, as I've said, you're going to apply social media thinking to what you've read. But I want to talk about paragraph organization as well. Because here's the thing. Some of you don't need me to say this right now. Like some of the paragraphs that I've marked in responses over the last week and a half have been just fantastic, filled with chunky, interesting details and really good, deep explanations. Some people, however, are struggling in one of two ways. Some people are struggling not being able to quite organize it as well as they would like to, and are struggling with that organization part of it. Like, when does the example, one example end, and when does the explanation of that start? And that comes with practice. Some people, however, are struggling with just not writing enough. A couple of people wrote me supposed paragraphs that were just like 1 or 2 sentences long. And I have to think, guys, when I look at this, I think there's no way you sat down for as long as this other student who wrote a paragraph that was half a page long. There's no way you did. So if you just wrote something that was 1 or 2 sentences long, I'm saying you didn't sit down. You didn't put yourself in that chair for long enough and write it. That's part of the problem. But organization, I can help with. And in fact, sitting down, I can help with as well, because I'm hoping that I can inspire you to do so by showing you how easy it is. To do this, I'm going to... To do this, I'm going to go back to what I said last week about writing organized paragraphs. And I'm going to take it from the beginning again, but I'm going to show you a way that you can make this fantastic. So, last week I gave you this paragraph about Niagara Falls. And of course I think it's really well organized because I wrote it. Actually, I wrote this just after going to Niagara Falls a few years ago with my family. I wrote this for another class a long time ago, but I think the organization works. What have I got? I've got a statement at the beginning. Niagara Falls is a great place for a whole family to go on a vacation. I've made a claim about that. And I've ended it with a conclusion. Overall, Niagara Falls has something to offer people of all ages. I've made a decent conclusion. Not a perfect conclusion. As I'll talk about in a little bit, I think conclusions are the hardest to get up to a total level for. I'll try to make that case in a little bit. In the meantime, I've got all sorts of chunky and interesting examples and explanations. And in fact, I kind of exploded it out into this diagram to show you. Right? My statement, my conclusion at the end. In the meantime, I gave examples for young children. There are fascinating and memorable experiences there. For older children, there are educational opportunities. Teenagers and adults will not be left out. So I gave 3 examples. And in each case, I gave a sentence or 2 of explanation. Right? For young children, I put it all in 1 sentence. They can ride on the Main to the Mist, go right up to the falls themselves. They can walk along the waterfront and see the amazing rainbows thrown up by the constantly crashing water. All that in 1 sentence. For the older children one, I put it in 2 sentences. And again, for the teenagers and adults, I put it in 1 sentence. Your explanation doesn't need to be super long. So that was kind of the exploded version of this. And then I saw something really interesting when I marked your responses. 2 students in this class and 1 student in my other class had created one of these for themselves to plan out their paragraphs. I thought that was pretty clever. I didn't tell them to do that, but they did it, and they ended up writing really good paragraphs as a result. So that's a pretty smart thing to do. And I thought to myself, maybe I should be inspired by my students and create something for you. So I've actually created it here. I can send this link on Remind in a little while. It's also there. I used a bit.ly link to make it a short link. I've created a template for you to plan out this paragraph. Now, again, let me say this. There are some of you who are writing such beautifully organized paragraphs already, you may not need my template. Most of you might find that it would help you. And so let me, in fact, click on that template rather than showing it here. Let me click on this. I got to click make a copy. And what I've done is I've tried to make everything in here as easy for you as it could be. I need to zoom right in on this. Okay, maybe that's a little too much zoom. No, this is good. Look at what I've got. I'm going to view this so that I'm just viewing the document itself. There we go, full screen. And so here's what I'm suggesting you do. Begin your first paragraph with this. If, name of the story, had taken place in the era of social media, there would have been differences in this, and this. Now, what the this, and this is up to your own thinking, right? So maybe you pick on thank you, ma'am. And maybe you begin by saying, if thank you, ma'am, had taken place in the modern era of social media, there would have been differences in characters, the climax, and the theme of the story. Because maybe you could see that, those things would all have been different. And then you just give the example, like the character of whichever would have been different because, and then you explain that. Now here is where I'm going to show you how to get that level 4. Notice what I've given you some really specific directions in here. Do a full explanation of that example, possibly even include details from the article about social media. I got to talk about this in all kinds of vague ways because I can't give you specific examples because I don't want to have my ideas contaminate your writing. I've got some ideas about how thank you, ma'am would have been different, how things would have happened differently on the street when Roger tried to steal Mrs. Jones's purse, how Roger himself might have thought differently or been different. I got some ideas about that, but I don't want my ideas to contaminate you. I think about the little old lady from Cricket Creek. I got some ideas about how things would have been different if everybody in that office had had a phone and a social media account, and how that might have made that crime a little harder to commit. But I don't want to have my ideas contaminate your ideas. So I can't say that, but I can say that you could find things that are relevant from the article, a detail. Maybe it would be something like something relevant from the article is, or according to one of the experts quoted in the article, or experts say that people, whatever it is, something from that shows you're learning from there. Let me say this part here, look carefully at what I'm saying. This part here, this is really for the people who want to try to get an amazing level 4 mark on this. Because that requires some really deep thinking. Taking stuff that you've learned from a nonfiction article, applying that to a story, that's some deep thinking. I'm not saying you have to do that. You could get a level 3 on this if you just skipped this part and then just got relevant details from the story. Right? So a level 2, a level 3 is going to be possible without doing the really hard stuff. But if you're going for the level 4, you want to do the hard stuff. And so I've got this set up for you to do 3 full examples and explanations. And then a concluding sentence. Okay, let me talk about that concluding sentence. I said a few minutes ago that a concluding sentence is easy to do at a level 2 or 3 level. That Niagara Falls paragraph of mine that I showed you, I think it's a pretty good, well-organized paragraph, but my concluding sentence is at best a level 3 sentence. Because it didn't add anything of value. It basically repeated in different words exactly the content from above. It did that successfully, so fine, it's a level 3. Here's how to make your concluding sentence a level 4, and this ain't easy to do. You add a little bit of value. Think about it, I'm going to use a metaphor. Think about it as investment. You know, if you've got a little bit of extra money in your life, good for you. Investment experts will tell you that it's a good idea to try to invest that money so that you make interest, so that you make more money. And think about it as your topic sentence at the beginning is an investment of the reader's time, right? You say something, you know, whether it's about Niagara Falls or whether it's about all my troubles. The reader puts effort into reading what you have written, and by the end, if you can add some little bit of wisdom, right? If your thing can end so clearly, the plot, the characters, and the conflict of this story would have been different in the era of social media, and this shows that, and this shows us that, or these differences demonstrate. And if you can add a tiny little bit of extra value, a little bit of extra wisdom, then that's how you get to that level 4. I've shown you here now how to do one of these 2 paragraphs. I want to show you an easy way to do the second one then, because I've asked you to do 2 paragraphs here. And the second one, I actually think can probably be a little shorter, probably just with 2 examples and explanations. Begin the sentence on that one with, on the other hand, some things would still have been the same, especially 1 and 2, whatever those things are. Try to think of a couple of things that even today would still have been the same, because let's face it, human nature doesn't change. All kinds of things in the world haven't changed. And so if you could think of some examples that haven't changed, or that would still be the same even if the story happened today, I think this one just needs 2 examples. If you've got 3, good for you, wonderful. Maybe you're getting a level 4 plus. I think probably just example, explanation, and concluding sentence. And again, something to add a little bit of value onto the end. So this is just 2 paragraphs. That's the way I'm suggesting to do it. Things that would be different if the story took place in the modern day. There may be some things that would be the same, because maybe some things do not change. You know, let's face it. All My Troubles is a story about a teenager being alienated and treated badly. That still happens. Little Old Lady from Cricket Creek is about people misunderstanding and having stereotypes about an old lady and about somebody, an old lady, tricking them and committing a crime. Crime still happens. People still get caught. And finally, Thank You, Ma'am, is about a kid being taught a better lesson. And we all can still get taught lessons. And kids can still make mistakes. And so some things change, some things stay the same. So my suggestion to you is, go back into, no, not there. Never quite works the way I want it to. There we go. My suggestion to you is follow this link, which I will send you on Remind, and use those to generate your 2 paragraphs, but you don't have to, right? If you would prefer just to write out your paragraphs, as I say, a couple of you, man, I got marks in the like 94, 95% range, which is fantastic. And if you don't need that, then that's cool. That's great. You don't need that. But I think most people would benefit probably from using this template. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now. So I have now made a video, which will take a few minutes to render.